11, 17.
10th chapter of the book called Life of David Through the Psalms by Alexander Maclaren. Right? So, okay. The 10th chapter is the King continued. You said in our last chapter we have seen the keynote of the songs of the King, maybe said to be struck in Psalm 100.
No, that's going to be 18.
Oh, that's 18th Psalm. 18th Psalm. Okay, good. Its complete analysis would carry us far beyond our limits. We can but glance at some of the more prominent points of the psalm. The first clause struck the keynote, "Allow thee, O Jehovah, my strength." Can you read that psalm for us? There, the book. 118. I'm sorry, 18th Psalm. Psalm 18. That's unbelievable. That's the last psalm I mentioned to your dad, actually. So.
I love you, O Lord, my strength. The Lord is my rock, my fortress, and my deliverer. My God is my rock in whom I take refuge. He is my shield and the horn of my salvation, my stronghold. I call to the Lord who is worthy of praise, and I am saved from my enemies. The cords of death entangled me. The torrents of destruction overwhelmed me. The cords of the grave coiled around me. The snares of death confronted me. In my distress I called to the Lord. I cried to my God for help. From his temple he heard my voice. My cry came before him into his ears. The earth trembled and quaked, and the foundations of the mountains shook. They trembled because he was angry. Smoke rose from his nostrils. Consuming fire came from his mouth. Burning coals blazed out of it. He parted the heavens and came down. Dark clouds were under his feet. He mounted the cherubim and flew. He soared on the wings of the wind. He made darkness his covering, his canopy around him. The dark rain clouds the sky. Out of the brightness of his presence, clouds advanced, with hailstones and bolts of lightning. The Lord thundered from heaven. The voice of the Most High resounded. He shot his arrows and scattered the enemy. Great bolts of lightning and routed them. The valleys of the sea were exposed, and the foundations of the earth laid bare. At your rebuke, O Lord, at the blast of breath from your nostrils, he reached down from on high and took hold of me.
Reached down from on high and took hold of me.
He drew me out of deep waters.
What a picture, huh?
He rescued me from my powerful enemy, from my foes who were too strong for me. They confronted me in the day of my disaster, but the Lord was my support. He brought me out into a spacious place. He rescued me because he delighted in me. The Lord has dealt with me according to my righteousness. According to the cleanness of my hands, he has rewarded me. For I have kept the ways of the Lord. I have not done evil by turning from my God. All his laws are before me. I have not turned away from his decrees. I have been blameless before him, and have kept myself from sin. The Lord has rewarded me according to my righteousness, according to the cleanness of my hands in his sight. To the faithful you show yourself faithful. To the blameless you show yourself blameless. To the pure you show yourself pure. But to the crooked you show yourself shrewd. You save the humble, but bring low those whose eyes are haughty. You, O Lord, keep my lamp burning. My God turns my darkness into light. With your help, I can advance against a troop. With my God, I can scale a wall. As for God, his way is perfect. The word of the Lord is flawless. He is a shield for all who take refuge in him. For who is God besides the Lord? And who is the rock except our God? It is God who arms me with strength and makes my way perfect. He makes my feet like the feet of a deer. He enables me to stand on the heights. He trains my hands for battle. My arms can bend a bow of bronze. You give me your shield of victory, and your right hand sustains me. You stoop down to make me great. You broaden the path beneath me, so that my ankles do not turn. I pursue my enemies and overtook them. I did not turn back till they were destroyed. I crushed them so that they could not rise. They fell beneath my feet. You armed me with strength for battle. You made my adversaries bow at my feet. You made my enemies turn their backs in flight, and I destroyed my foes. They cried for help, but there was no one to save them. To the Lord, but he did not answer. I beat them as fine as dust borne on the wind. I poured them out like mud in the streets. You have delivered me from the attacks of the people. You have made me the head of nations. People I did not know are subject to me. As soon as they hear me, they obey me. Foreigners cringe before me. They all lose heart. They come trembling from their strongholds. The Lord lives. Praise be to my rock. Exalted be God my Savior.
Yes, Lord, we bless you.
He is the God who avenges me, who subdues nations under me, who saves me from my enemies. You exalted me above my foes. From violent men you rescued me. Therefore I will praise you among the nations, O Lord. I will sing praises to your name. He gives his king great victories. He shows unfailing kindness to his anointed, to David and his descendants forever.
Hallelujah. That's a mighty song. The first clause strikes the key notes. Allow thee, O Jehovah, my strength. And personal attachment to God, which is a sole characteristic of David's religion, can no longer be pent up in silence, but gushes forth like some imprisoned stream, broad and full even from its wellhead. The common word for love is too weak for him. It bends to his use another, never elsewhere employed to express man's emotion towards God in the intensity which is but feebly expressed by some such paraphrases as from our heart to I love thee. The same exalted feeling is wonderfully set forth by the loving accumulation of divine names which follow, as if they would heap together in one great pile all the rich experiences of that God, all named after all names, which he had garnered up in his distresses and deliverances. They tell so much that the poor vehicle of words can tell. What his shepherd in the heavens had been to him. They are the treasures which he had brought back from his exile, and they most pathetically point to the sounds and time, and call on God by these names when it was hard to believe in the reality. And now he repeats them all in his grand hour of fruition, for token that they who in their extremity trust in the name of the Lord will one day have the truth of faith transformed into truth of experience. Jehovah, my rock and my fortress, reminds us of his cry in Zigzagland, Thou art my rock and my fortress. That is 31:3. And of the whole, the same word for Adlan, in which he had lay secure, my deliverer, echoes many a sigh in the past, now changed into music praise. My rock, a different word from that in the preceding clause, in whom I take refuge, recalls the prayer Be thou my rock of strength. 31:2. And his former efforts of confidence when in the midst of calamity, he said, my soul takes refuge in thee. Well, that is
57.
57. 57:1. My shield carry us back to the ancient promise, fresh after so many centuries, and fulfilled anew in every age. Fear not, Abraham, I am thy shield. And his own trustful words at the time when trust was difficult. My shield is upon God. 7:10, right? My high tower. The last is glowing series linked down to the whole breath in the first son of his exile. God is my defense. The same expression. Thou hast been my defense in the day of trouble. 54:9 and 16. And then he sums up his whole past in one general sentence which tells his habitual resource in troubles and the blessed help which he has ever found. I call on Jehovah, who is worthy to be praised, and from my enemies am I saved. Verse 3. The Old English words worshipful comes near the form and meaning of the phrase. No comment can heighten, and no translation can adequately represent, while none can altogether destroy the unapproachable magnificence of description which follows of the majesty coming forth of God in answer to his cry. It stands as the very highest point, even when compared with the other sublime passages of like kind in Scripture. How pathetically he pens his sore need in mad verse which again bring to mind the songs of the outlaw. The snares of death compassed me, and the floods of destruction made me afraid. The snares of Sheol surrounded me. The toil of death surprised me. As he so often like himself to some wild creature in the nets, so here death, the hunter, has cast his fatal cords about him, and they are ready suddenly to close on the unsuspecting prey, all wearing the image. He is sinking in black waters, which are designated by a different phrase, literally strings of Belial, or worthlessness, which is most probably rendered as bow, so Everett Huffield. In this dire extremity, one thing alone is left to him. He is snared, but he has his voice free to cry with, and God to cry too. It all by seeking, but he can still shrink. So one of the words might be rendered like some strong swimmer in his agony. It is enough. Then one loud call for help rises like some slender pillar of incense smoke straight into the palace temple of God. And he says with a meaning which our virgin obscures, my cry before him came into his ears. The prayer that springs from a living consciousness of being in God's presence, even when nearest to perishing, is a prayer that he hears. The cry is a poor, thin, solitary voice, unheard on earth, though shrill enough to rise to heaven. The answer shakes creation. One man's extremity can put in motion all the magnificence of God. Overwhelming is the contrast between the cause and the effect. The marvelous and the greatness, so also is the swiftness the answer. A moment suffices, and then, even whilst he cries, he rocks the rocking earth and the quivering foundation of the hills are conscious that the Lord comes from afar for his help. The majestic self-revelation of God as a deliverer has for its occasion in soundless quiet distress, and for his issue he drew me out of many waters. All the splendor flames out because a poor man prays, and all the upheaval of earth and the artery of heaven is supplied. is simply this for its end, and the poor man may be a poor man may be delivered. Let me read this again. All the splendor flames out because the poor man prays, and all the upheaval of earth and utterly heaven has simply this for its end, that a poor man may be delivered. The paradox of prayer never found a more bold expression than in the triumphant utterance of the insignificant occasion for and the equally insignificant result sought by the exercise of the energy of omnipotence.
Mm-hmm.
The divine deliverance is set forth under the familiar image of the coming of God in the tempest. Before it bursts and simultaneously with a prayer, the earth rocks and quivers. The sunless pillars, the hills reel rock to and fro, and if conscious of the gathering wrath which began to flame far off in the highest heavens, there has been no forth-putting yet the divine power. It is but accumulating the fiery energy, and already the solid framework of the world trembles, anticipating the coming crash. The firmest things shake the lofty blow before his wrath. There went up smoke out his nostril, and fire out his mouth devoured. Coals were kindled by it. This kindling anger
Kindling.
his kindling anger, expressed by this tremendous metaphors, is conceived and the preparation in his temple for the earthly manifestation, a delivering vengeance. It's like some distant thunder cloud which grows on the horizon into ominous blackness and seems to be filling its ancient color depths with a store of lightnings. Then the pala terra begins to move, and the draw nearer pours out an avalanche of gloom stained with fire. First, the storm cloud descends, hurling lower and lower in the sky, and whose food is that which is planted upon is a heavy mass, thick and firm enough to be the will of God. He bowed the heavens and came down. A blackness cloud was under his feet. Then the sudden rush of a wind, which heralds the lightning, breaks the awful silence, and he rode upon a cherub, and did fly. Yea, he swept along upon the wings of the wind. The cherubs bear, as in a chariot, the throne of God, and swift the pinions of the storm bear the cherubs, but the he that sits upon the throne, bow material forces of the highest creatures, is unseen. The soundless imagination stops its base, nor dares to gaze into that light above, and the silence is more impressive than all words. Instead of picking attempts, and the likeness of God, we have next painted with equal descriptive accuracy, poetic force, and the theological truth, the pitchy blackness which hides him. In the gloom of depths, he makes his secret place his tent. It's darkness of waters, that is, darkness from which streams out the sound and rain. It is a thick cloud of the skies, or Pamper's expression should be rendered, heavy masses of clouds. Then comes the crash of the tempest, the brightness that lies close around him, that lives in the heart of the blackness, flaming forth, parting the thick clouds through the awful rain. Hails, coals of fire are flung down on the trembling earth. The grand description may be rendered in two ways, either than adopted in our version, and the brightness that was before him is a thick cloud past, hailstones and coals of fire, or through his thick cloud that passed the hailstones and coals of fire. The former of this is more dramatic. The broken construct expresses more vividly the fierce suddenness of the lightning blaze and of the down rush of the hill. It is confirmed by the repetition of the same verse in the same construct in the next verse. That verse describes another verse of the tempest. The deep roll of the thunder along the skies is a voice of Jehovah. It against the lightning tears through the clouds, the hill streams down. With what profound truth! All this destructive power is represented as coming from the brightness of God, then glory, which in its own nature is light, but in its contact with the finite and sinful creatures must needs become darkness, rendered asunder by lightning. What lesson as to the root is the essential nature for all frenetic acts of God clutter around such words, and the whole calm and bless the faith which can pierce even the thickest mass that will us love, to see the light and the center, even though the circumference be brooding sun cloud torn by sun and fires. Then comes the purpose of all this apocalypse of divine magnificence. The fiery arrows scatters the summerless enemies. The water in which he had well nigh drowned are dried up before the heat, before the hard breath of his anger. And dread voice speaks which strings their strings, and made the blade tempest, the rocking earth, and the filling floods. His arm is thrust forth from above, and the drawn his servant from many waters. As when in later time he was afraid, and began to sink, and cried, says, Lord, save me. Immediately he stretched forth his hand, and caught him. That's speaking of Peter, right? A calmer tone follows, and the psalmist recounts without the metaphor his deliverance, and reiterates the same assertion of his innocence which we have already found so frequently in the first Psalms, verse 17 to 24. Rising from his personal experience to the broad and lofty thoughts of God, which an experience had taught him, as it does all who prize life chiefly as a means of knowing him, he proclaimed the solemn truth that in the exercise of a righteous retribution of the word necessity of our moral nature, God appeared to man what man is to God, loving to the loving, upright to the upright, pure to the pure, and the froward to the froward. Our thoughts, God, are shaped by our moral character. The capacity of perceiving that depends on sympathy, and as the eyes were light, how could he see the sun, the self-revelation God in his providence, of which only the Son speaks, is modified according to our moral character, being full of love to those who love, being harsh and agnostic to those who say. Repeat again.
Antagonistic.
There you go. Antagonistic, that difficult one. Okay.
Yeah.
Antagonistic. Okay. Last time. Antagonistic to those who set themselves in opposition to it. There is a higher law of grace, whereby the sinfulness of man, but it draws forth the tenderness of a father's pardoning pity, and the brightness of revelation is love is made to forward prodigals. But that's not in the psalmist's way here, nor does it interfere with the law of retribution, its own affair. The purity person of the tomb is again resumed and continued unbroken to the close. In the former portion, David was passive, except for the voice of prayer, and God's arm alone was his deliverance. In the latter half, he is active, conqueror king, whose arm is strength for victory by God. This difference may possibly suggest the reference of former half to the Sauline persecution, when, as we have seen, the exile ever strong from avenging himself, and the latter to the early years of his monarchy, which, as we shall see, were characterized by much successful military activity, and if so, the date of the psalm would most naturally be taken to be the close of his victorious campaigns, when the Lord had given him rest from all his enemies round about. That is in 2 Samuel 7:1. Be that as it may, the latter portion of the psalm shows us the soldier king tracing all his past victories to God alone, and building upon them the confidence of worldwide dominion, the point at which Memory passing to hope is difficult to determine, and a great variety of opinion prevails on the matter among commentators. It is perhaps best to follow many of the older versions as valuable expositions of Hufford in regarding the whole section from verse 37 of our translation and the expression of the trust which the past experience has wrought. We shall then have two periods in the second half of the psalm: the past victories won by God's help, verse 31 to 36, and the coming triumphs of which these are the pledges, verses 37 to the end. In the former, there shine out not only David's habitual consciousness dependence on and aid from God, but also a very striking picture with a physical qualification for a military leader. He is girded with bodily strength, swift and sure of foot like a deer, able to scout the cracks where his foes fortify themselves like the wild antelopes he had so often seen, boarding among the dizzy ledges of the cliffs in the wilderness. His hand are trained for war, his sinewy arms can bend the great ball of bronze. But this capacity are gifts, and not they, but their giver had made him victorious. Looking back upon all his past, this is his summing up. Thou hast also given me the shield of thine salvation, and thy right hand has holden me up, and thine lowliness has made me great. God's strength, God's buckler, God's supporting arm, God's condescension, by which he bows down to look upon the help of the feeble, with the humble showing himself humble, those helping his weapons. And from this have come his victory. And because of this, you look forward to a future like the past, but more glorious still, thereby teaching us how the unchanging faithfulness of our God should encourage us to take all the blessings which we have received as but the earnest of what is yet to come. He sees himself pursuing his enemies, smiting them to the ground. The fierce light of battle blazed through the rapid sentences which penned the panic flight, and the swift pursuit, the winged strikes to man God for succor, and the utter annihilation of the foe. 42. And I will pound them like dust before the wind, like street filth while I empty them out. Then he gives utterance to the consciousness that his kingdom is destined to extend far beyond the limits of Israel, in words which, like so many of the prophecies, will be translated in the present tense, but are obviously future in signification. The prophet placed himself in imagination in the midst of the time of which he speaks. 43. Thou deliverest me from the striving of the people. Thou makest me head of the heathen, people whom I knew not serve me. And the hearing of the ear they obey me. The sounds of stranger feign obedience to me. The sounds of stranger fade away. They come trembling from the hiding places. The rebellion which weakened his reign is subdued. And beyond the bounds of his own people, his dominion spreads. Strange tribes submit to the words on his name and cross before me, extorted and pretended submission. The words are literally lie unto me, descriptive of the profuse profession of loyalty characteristic of conquered Orientals. The power withers before him like a gathered flower before a hard wind, and the fugitives creep trembling out of their holes where they had hid themselves. Again, he recurs to the one thought which flows like a river of light through all the psalm, that all his help is in God. The names which he lovingly heaped together at the beginning are in part echoed in the close. The Lord lives, and blessed is my rock, and the God for my salvation exalted. His deliverance had taught him to know a living God, swift to hear, active to help, in whom he lives, who has magnified his own name in that he has saved his servant. And as that blessed conviction is the sum of all his experience, so one glance the world expresses all his results, and thrills with expectation, which he had cherished even in his long exile, that the music is the song would one day echo through all the world. With lofty consciousness of new dignity, with a lowly sense that is God's gift, he emphatically names himself, he is a king, he is anointed, taking that word, his crown from his brows, and laying down the altar. And laying on the altar, with a prophetic eye, he looks onward, and sees the throne to which he has been led by a series of miracles enduring forever, and the mercy of God sustaining the dominion of his house through all generations. 49. Therefore will I give thanks today among the nations, O Jehovah, and to thy name will I strike the harp, who makes great the deliverances of his king, and execute his mercy for his anointed, for David and his seed forevermore. And what were his purposes for the future? Here is his answer, in a song which has been, with considerable appropriateness, regarded as a kind of manifesto of his principle, of the principles which he intended should characterize his reign.
Psalm 101.
Psalm what? 101.
Yeah.
Okay. I will walk within my house with a perfect heart. I will set no wicked thing before my eyes. For himself, he begins reign with noble self-restraint, not meaning to make it a region of indulgence, but feeling that there is a law about his will, which is only the servant, and knowing that if his people and his public life are to be what they should be, his own personal and domestic life must be pure. For his court and his ministers, he will make a clean sweep of the women who swarm and sting and buzz about the throne, the forward, the wicked, private slanders, proud hearts, crafty plotters, liars, evildoers. He will not suffer. Mine shall be on the faithful in the land. He that walks in the perfect way, he shall serve me. He is fired with ambition, such as has brightened the beginning of many a reign, which has darkened to cruelty and crime, to make his kingdom some fancy image of God's, to bring the actual Israel into conformity with the ancient Magna Charta. Ye shall be unto me a holy nation. And so, not knowing, pampers so hard a task he planned, a little dreaming of his own soul fall, he grasps the sword, resolved to use it for the terror of evildoers, and vows, I will utterly destroy all the wicked in the land. Then I may cut off all wicked doers from the city of the Lord. Such was his proclamation against vice and immorality on his ascension to his throne. Am I right? That's end of the chapter. And what am I reading? May the Lord bless you. Hallelujah.